powerful review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning. We have Dr. Constance Ikwoku. Good morning, Dr. Constance.
Good morning, Yolanda.
Please take us through today's headlines.
I am not eager to. New Year's Eve.
Yes, that is true. Unfortunately, we have to work.
We have to work. Quite a number of good and bad news, but quite a bit happening in the papers this morning. So let's get right into it. Hello there and welcome to the stories that are shaping the agenda for you today. Kicking up with this day newspaper. In the front pages today, tax reforms coming into force and political debate ahead of 2026 feature prominently. Malami's corruption trial and remand in prison is a top political legal story. Super Eagles' unbeaten AFCON run provides a nice, happy national headline. The high-profile tragedy of Anthony Joshua's crash and the death of his team members continues to be featured in many covers, with road safety a national concern. This day leads with President Bola Tinubu standing his ground on the new tax laws, which he says must take effect tomorrow, January 1. Alongside that, Central Bank of Nigeria projects $51.04 billion external reserves. King Charles honors Minister of Finance Wale Edu with Grand Commander of Victorian Order as President Tinubu congratulates him. On the window, court remands former Attorney General of the Federation Abubakar Malami and his son Abdulaziz in Kuje prison over alleged 9 billion naira fraud. Leadership newspaper this morning prominently reports the president still fighting those new tax laws that he says must come into effect. He also talks about Malami in prison, and on U.S. airstrikes, Amotekun, the Southwest Regional Security Network, is said to have arrested 39 fleeing terrorists. Central Bank is also forecasting that $51 billion reserves here, and domestic airlines recorded 765 flight delays in Q3, according to aviation authorities. On the economy, in Daily Independent, the Central Bank of Nigeria is projecting 4.49% GDP growth in 2026, with inflation expected to cool. The All Progressives Congress says it is ready to receive Governor Abba Yusuf of Kano, and the federal government is denying claims that it plans to arrest opposition figures. The Punch newspaper leads with the tax law. Again, the president wants that to kick off tomorrow. This is his baby, and he has done everything possible for this law to stand. Vanguard highlights Mr. Peter Obi and why he chose Enugu for defection to the African Democratic Congress today. In 2025, Nigerians paid more for data and calls despite network disruption, a report says. Boxing star Anthony Joshua's family are saddened by his horrific car crash, as police say bus tire caused the crash. The Guardian newspaper centers the 2027 elections as Bode Judge tells the Independent National Electoral Commission that Nigerians will not accept excuses of glitches. Over 20 million households stick to firewood and charcoal as they are more affordable. 2026 will have 12 trillion naira debt, which may tighten liquidity in private sector, the Central Bank of Nigeria is warning. In New Telegraph, Nigerian military recovers boosters in Sokoto, Kebbi, and Offa in Kwara State after the U.S. airstrikes. And Lagos cancels the Greater Lagos Fiesta for this year. Finally, Peter Obi tells his supporters and Nigerians in general that he knows how to turn Nigeria around. Daily Sun reports that leg injury from the car crash that now threatens Anthony Joshua's career, and his family is totally shocked. House of Representatives Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu tells his fellow Abian and governor of his state, Abia State, that's Alex Oti, to join the All Progressives Congress now or forget second term. What audacity. Moving on to the international headlines. Here we have the Times newspaper, if you can start with that. UK front pages today are dominated by human drama, economic anxiety, and political legal tension, closing the year on a sober note. A major unifying theme is shock and sympathy, led by widespread coverage of Anthony Joshua's car crash in Nigeria, which personalizes global tragedy through this British-Nigerian figure. Alongside this is deep concern about the state of the UK economy, with warnings about weak investment, business confidence, and long-term competitiveness. In the Times, Britain is reported to have the lowest investment levels in the G7, prompting criticism from Labour MPs who blame Chancellor Rachel Reeves and warn about weakened business confidence. Our newspaper has news on power supply failure that closed the Channel Tunnel, leading to widespread rail cancellations. Travelers were advised to postpone journeys. Daily Express reads about Strasbourg judges challenging the UK's position on stripping Shamima Begum's citizenship. This potentially revives the jihadi bride's bid to return to the UK, sparking legal and political debate. In Daily Mail, police chief warned that Labour's soft justice reforms could lead to a surge in crime and put extra burden on police resources. In Daily Telegraph, Moldova Prime Minister warns that Putin has no interest in Ukraine peace deal. Financial Times reports on private equity trends, firms selling companies to funds they manage themselves at record rates, with implications for markets and investors. The Sun newspaper writes about Boston star Anthony Joshua, who will be in the hospital for the new year following his crash. In Daily Mirror, his mom is reported to be at his bedside. We wish him speedy recovery, and once again, our sympathies go to the families of his friend and associate who lost their lives in that devastating crash. Very terrible news. Now let's look at what these headlines mean for everyday citizens returning to this day newspaper. President Tinubu says there's no going back on these new tax laws to start tomorrow, January 1, in spite of all the furore from that law. In Daily Independent, it was also reported a different angle, or an added angle, that the People's Democratic Party is kicking against this, saying it needs to be suspended for discrepancies between the harmonized law passed by the National Assembly and the version gazetted into law to be dealt with. The presidency says it will work with the National Assembly for resolution of any identified issues, and says this is not enough to suspend the law. Back and forth.
Yes, well, the highly contentious tax laws are finally upon us. It seems like just yesterday that we were brought this news, and now we are literally on the dawn of a new era. This is something that could literally change the entire landscape of our economic projection for Nigeria. And so, I mean, I have a bit of worries as well, Dr. Constance. I'm not sure where you stand on this, but, you know, the fact that it was brought up that there were some problems with what was gazetted and what is, and the fact that that is not being properly addressed, or do you believe that's been properly addressed? But before you answer that, I just want to say, you know what the PDP is saying? They're kicking back and saying that, look, this is pretty unfair for what is supposed to happen right now. But the government is saying that nearly 98% of Nigerians will not be facing these tax laws in the fullness of what they've described it as. But I'm not sure if I so much as believe that.
At this stage, maybe it doesn't matter much what we believe or not. These tax laws are going to take effect tomorrow.
Right.
We have a National Assembly that is very friendly to the presidency. In spite of all that has gone on, the back and forth, the furore, the National Assembly works in tandem with the presidency. The president has said that this tax reform is once in a generation opportunity to reset the tax system, promote harmonization, and build a more competitive fiscal foundation. Critics see this move as prioritizing revenue generation over public welfare.
Yes.
But the government is prepared to push through difficult reforms in the face of contention that we have seen. And as I said, the National Assembly is behind him. Secondly, the PDP and other parties probably had a better chance of resisting this law before it was passed in the first place.
It didn't have to go this far before
Yes.
they were going to speak up about it.
Yeah, exactly. They should have provided their own proposals to be included in the law. Once a bill has gone through the National Assembly, has been harmonized, signed into law, and gazetted, the
It's too
window
late.
for meaningful intervention has largely closed, in spite of all that furor over whether the right thing was gazetted or harmonized. Effective opposition is expected during public hearings, committee stages, and plenary debates. When amendments can still be made or consensus is built on what should be, on what should not be, before implementation takes place. By waiting until this law is already enforced to raise objections, opposition parties risk being seen as, quite weak and reactive rather
Absolutely.
than strategic from the beginning. So earlier, if they had organized resistance, it could have shaped the content of this law and whatever it is they did not agree with,
But
and
what about the
mobilize the
talk?
public.
What about the talk of the citizens' welfare not being put as a priority? Because this is what PDP is actually arguing. That's their main statement in the kickback.
Again, all this is, we've waited until so much water has passed under
That's
the bridge.
right.
All this could have been addressed at the
an earlier
beginning
stage.
during the plenary hearings. There were opportunities for every law, not only the tax law. There were opportunities for people to speak about it, to make known their reservations, to bring forth their own proposals. It seems like now everything is done. The lid has been closed and there's nothing much we can do about it, and especially because the National Assembly is a National Assembly this time around that is working lock in step with the president. And we're not going to see anything different. We are stuck with this law. So from
Absolutely.
January 1 next year, we're going to be seeing how it
That's
hits
tomorrow.
our pockets. This will be reality. The sense is that many people will not be happy with
Yes,
this
that's
law.
right.
And it will be unfolding.
I think people are taking as many precautions as they can, but where the bone of contention is that I'm not sure that many people understand the numbers, because that's where I have an issue as well. I don't quite understand how the calculations are done. It has been explained over and over again, but the clarity is just not there.
You're correct that the clarity is not there. It doesn't take away the fact that it's going to be implemented anyway. And what we will see is that there might be some kind of opposition when this thing really hits us, and maybe parties waking up and saying, is there a way to make amendments, to make adjustments? We will have to cross the bridge when we get there. As of now, the president has won this battle in spite of all the talk from the opposition at this point. The presidency has won the battle. Staying with this day newspaper, former Attorney General and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami arraigned, and he pleaded not guilty to 16-count money laundering and corruption charges preferred against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. He was arraigned alongside his son Abubakar Abdulaziz and his fourth wife Asabe Bashir. They have been remanded in Kuje prison until January 2nd, when their bail application will be heard. The EFCC said the defendants conspired at various times to conceal, retain, and disguise proceeds of unlawful activities running into billions of naira. The offenses spanned several years and involve the use of various companies and bank accounts to launder funds, it is being alleged. This is a big case.
Absolutely. This is another high-profile case of 2025. I think we've seen quite a few big high-profile cases this year, but this one just comes at just in time to close off the year. Now, just as you've rightfully said, former Attorney General Malami and his son and his wife have been remanded in Kuje. They actually face a 16-count money laundering charge that was filed by the EFCC. Now, what I find interesting is that the EFCC he alleges that approximately 9 billion naira was laundered through different types of schemes, and the biggest being the purchase of luxury properties from Maitama, Garki and Jabi as well. It's also interesting to note that the defendants have pleaded not guilty. And just as we took in the report earlier on, I'm not sure if you remember when we were reporting on this issue, we would mention that on the 2nd of January is when we will hear about the bail applications. That's when the hearing will then officially open. But I mean, that's a lot of money, 9 billion naira, most of it through various schemes and properties, Maitama, Gariki, Jabi. It's appalling for that type of a position.
Talking about the properties, this is one of the reasons why people say that the reason why properties in Abuja are highly overpriced is due to corruption and people using it as a money laundering channel.
Yes, as a scapegoat.
And so when people make illicit money from the federal government, from offices they hold that they do not own, the easiest way to clean that money is to buy properties. And so you have these properties that are littered all over the Federal Capital Territory that are not occupied by people, and it just raises the cost of property across the city, making it difficult for normal people that earn a decent living to be able to afford,
absolutely,
homes in the Federal Capital Territory.
You've even gone far about affording homes. What about just being able to rent? The rentals are extremely high. I believe you did a report earlier in the year about the cost of housing in Abuja and how high it is. I'm not sure what it is in other states, but I know for sure in Abuja it's quite exorbitant, and it's not affordable for the everyday person.
In Lagos it is also very pricey, but in Abuja the reasons are quite different. But let's go back to Malami. His arraignment, he will have his day in court, and the EFCC has to prove beyond reasonable doubt that he actually committed these crimes. But his arraignment marks a significant moment in Nigeria's anti-corruption efforts, and the reason why I say that is that it shows that former officials or public officials can be held accountable if there is credible evidence on financial crimes. He joins a long list of former public officials that have before been dragged before the court to answer different cases of alleged malfeasance. Some of them have been able to get off the hook when they joined the ruling party. Others have been convicted and have served their term. But most importantly, if this particular case is prosecuted transparently and fairly, it could strengthen public confidence in the rule of law and in the anti-corrupt agencies, not only the EFCC, we also have the ICPC. The opposition has raised concerns about politicization and selective enforcement of this law. It says that the opposition is being hounded, and this amounts to witch hunting. If this is perceived generally by the people that EFCC is being used as a tool to go against the opposition, it risks damaging its reputation. This has happened in the past. At the same time, if they successfully prosecute Malami and it is found that he is guilty, proved beyond reasonable doubt, I think that at the end of the day, people want to see that these people are brought to book, whether the EFCC is used as a witch hunt or not. People are tired of hearing cases of disappearing money in civil service, in public service. People are tired of hearing that the country is not generating enough revenue, and yet on the other hand you have a lot of leakages and loophole in the system that it is perceived the government has no political will to block. And then now we are faced with these new tax laws, which people say, okay, you can collect taxes, you can widen the tax base, but we really want to see what you're using the tax revenue to do. In cases where we are hearing all these criminal cases of money laundering and using public funds for reasons they should not be, it just damages the government and damages the standing of public officials. And people would continue to ask, when you collect these taxes, what are you going to be doing with them?
Yes, exactly. And I beg to differ with what you said about his reputation. I believe even just the mere accusation coming up, it's already a deal breaker when it comes to your reputation. I believe it's broken beyond repair at this point, because to have such a weighty accusation brought against you, there must be some sort of proof, wouldn't you say?
Unfortunately, in Nigeria, people's reputation are hardly, especially the politicians, are hardly broken beyond repair. It seems like Nigerians forget very easily.
Right.
You would see people that have this kind of cases,
right,
and sometimes they're able to get out of it, and in other cases they pay for it. At the end of the day, they still get back into politics. The only person I can remember that really had his political career completely shattered, that he could not come back, was Farouk Lawan, who, when he was a House of Representatives member, was accused of collecting bribes from Femi Otodala. And he was jailed. After that, he completely disappeared from the political limelight, and he has not been able to resurrect his career. And he was one of those that was pardoned by President Bola Tinubu. So he's won in a few cases. Someone like there's someone else from Lagos State that went to jail, but after that he continued to be in politics. It was a clean slate
once again.
Yes, so not many of them. And so let's look at Vanguard newspaper. Why Peter Obi chose Enugu for defection to the African Democratic Congress. Leader of the Obedient Movement, Tanko Yunusa, says the Southeast wants to make a statement that it will shape the 2027 polls. Obi, according to Yunusa, had been a member of the coalition all the while. He goes into history to say Enugu is the historical capital of the East, and it's pivotal when the East wants to make a statement. Obi will speak to his followers today, the defection is today,
yes,
and chart a way forward. Tanko confirmed that indeed Obi is defecting to the ADC. This is going to be a roller coaster ride.
A showdown for sure. What a way to end the year. We have so many key reports. What I picked up from the report was that Enugu was chosen for the declaration because of its symbolic status. They said, quote, political capital of the Southeast. Now, former capital I see.
Of the Southeast.
Okay.
Yes.
But then again, ADC National Publicity Secretary Bolaji Abdullahi maintains caution that no official announcement has been made. But we know that today is the day.
Today is the day. One Obedient Movement pioneer leader by name Kachi Onanuju, however, does not think Obi is making the right choice by joining the ADC. He thinks Obi has been cornered into accepting a deal that will end his political career. Onanuju says some of his supporters wanted to help Obi build a new platform after Labour Party was hijacked by anti-democratic forces. But Obi did not listen to this advice early on in the day, and now he is joining the ADC late in the day, according to Onanuju. And he says the party is already filled with people that have entrenched interests, and he just wished Mr. Peter Obi luck. One can understand Onanuju's point of view in light of the fact that former Vice President Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is already in that party with his supporters. He is believed to be calling the shots there and may be interested in running again. Obi has said he is not running to be vice president. Does it mean the ADC has agreed to give him the presidential tickets? We don't know yet. But Obi's last-minute move to the ADC represents both an opportunity and a strategic gamble in Nigeria's fluid political landscape. We see how it is in Nigerian political or Nigerian politics is a roller coaster. On the one hand, shifting to the ADC gives him the chance to reframe his campaign, potentially galvanize his loyal supporters. Some of them have been disillusioned, especially those in the Obedient Movement. It also gives him the chance to paint himself as different, because we have the APC and PDP and Labour that many Nigerians have rejected, but also he has to deal with entrenched interests and the power brokers in that party, like Onanuju said. So definitely the 2023 calculations will not hold water in 2027. It will be a totally different ball game.
Yes.
Governors of Enugu, Ebonyi, Anambra, and Imo may likely work against him, Enugu has moved to APC. Ebonyi was APC, and then you have Imo was APC. Anambra is still APGA. However, he's aligned himself somewhat with the president. And so Obi is going to be dealing with a lot. Then critics within his own movement have warned that joining, this party relatively late it will be difficult for him, because he will now be trying to navigate the power structures.
Do you think there'll be real implications for joining the party late?
There might be implications. There might be implications. But nothing is set in stone.
That's right.
Nothing is cast in stone. He is a politician. Some people say he hasn't played his game very well. He wasn't able to hold together the Labour Party. He's not someone that historically has been able to build a party. He was governor in Anambra State on APGA. After that, he left APGA, moved to the PDP, ran with Alhaji Atiku Abubakar as vice president, and then he left the PDP, moved to Labour Party, under which he ran as president, and now he's going to the ADC. We will see how he's able to manage all of this, whether his national appeal is still the same thing it was in 2023.
That's
if it's going to be
one.
the same in 2027.
That's a big one. Yeah.
We will be watching that. We'll see how he translates all of this into votes. The international headlines. China holds second day of military drills around Taiwan. Says it will defend democracy and asks for the region the region's stability not to be disturbed. It fired rockets into the waters of Taiwan and showcased assault ships in what is described as its most extensive war game to date. China, it's downplaying prospects of U.S. and allied intervention to block any future attack.
Now, it's also another year-ending shakeup, with China there conducting this large-scale military drill exercise around Taiwan. The exercise began after China described the United States as infringing on its sovereignty. Does this sound familiar, Dr. Constance?
Yes.
Now, the question is, do these drills potentially blur the lines between routine military training and actually positioning yourself for an attack? Is that what we are on the helm of at this moment? Now, the region has been heating up. We've had discussions about what's been happening with China, with Japan, and then now Taiwan. So now imagine the small countries, the small island, being surrounded by this show of power. Now, what is quite interesting to show and point out is that Russia has aligned itself and come out and say that it will support China if any escalation were to happen. And I'm not sure that the region wants that type of shakeup, because you have these big powers. Imagine Russia and China. Why would they come against, the little Taiwan? But, people are left to their own various opinions concerning where they stand. And I think that's the biggest question at the moment. Who do you support? Because every country now is forced to align with one of the countries involved here. And, Russia, China, there's been so much speculation, and I hear the background music ready to play to end our segment.
We still have 1 minute.
Yes.
China and Russia have historically been partners.
Yes.
And this military exercises is branded Justice Mission 2025.
Justice Mission.
It's seen as a demonstration of its growing military capabilities, as well as a signal to Taiwan and external partners, especially the United States and Japan, not to come near. We saw recently that face-off between China and Japan after Tokyo declared it would defend Taiwan in the face of Chinese invasion. So the military drill, therefore, is timely and strategic for Beijing to drive home the message that it will not stand by and watch foreign interference in a territory that it considers part of China under its one China policy. Secondly, it does not want any outside interference. Like we said, diplomatic channels are usually used to stop, attention in this kind of instance. So let's see whether the diplomatic channel holds or it fails. Those were your headlines
All
today.
right. Thank you, Dr. Constance. Now, as 2025 winds down, the global assessment of Nigeria's security situation is not based on an escalation or a possible reduction of casualties, incidents and fatalities. It's majorly centered around religion and ethnicity, making it more complex than previously imagined. We leave you with that special report by Arise News Chief of Correspondent Ferdinand Duroha, titled Nigeria and the Politics of Insecurity in 2025. On behalf of our team in Lagos, London and Abuja, thank you for watching Daybreak.